A woman discovered a stone specimen while conducting fieldwork in a remote area. When observed, this stone would remarkably change its form on its own. Regardless of external environmental conditions, the stone maintained a constant temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, which perfectly matched standard human body temperature. She immediately realized this discovery would bring her substantial financial rewards and planned to have experts conduct a value assessment. At that very moment, her father contacted her. She told him that selling this stone would be sufficient to cover her sister's cancer treatment expenses. However, her father informed her that the medical facility was about to administer palliative sedation to her sister. Upon learning this, she urgently instructed her father to halt the procedure. She then arranged for colleagues to drive her to the airport, preparing to return home to persuade both her father and her ailing sister. The woman had been accumulating funds for her sister's cancer treatment expenses. She could only seek employment far from home, working at this oil exploration site with beautiful scenery but harsh working conditions. After completing her daily work, she would always search the nearby mountains for radioactive material residues and precious minerals. Fortunately, today she had finally made a discovery. Her heart was now filled with an urgent desire to return home. After boarding the helicopter, for the first time in 3 years, she had the leisure to appreciate the beautiful scenery outside the cabin window. At that precise moment, she noticed a flock of birds appearing on the distant horizon. Bird flocks were extremely rare at such flight altitude. After reporting the situation to the pilot, he promised to carefully avoid the birds. Unexpectedly, the birds launched an attack on them. The aircraft's propulsion system was damaged, causing it to lose power in mid-air. The pilot's only option was to control the heading and prepare for the aircraft's impact with the ground. Shortly after, her vision darkened and she lost consciousness, falling into unconsciousness. When she regained consciousness, she found herself among the wreckage of the damaged aircraft. The surviving pilot had sustained abdominal trauma and was in very poor overall health condition. After stepping out of the aircraft, she discovered that the helicopter had emergency-landed in dense jungle. This was certainly an uninhabited, remote wilderness. Now they could only rely on radio communication equipment to seek help. With the pilot's assistance, she continuously used the communication equipment to send distress signals. However, no one responded to her calls for help. Therefore, she retrieved wooden crates from the aircraft and ignited paper materials along with the crates, hoping to draw attention to their location. However, this faint light was completely inadequate to attract anyone's attention against the backdrop of the vast mountain range. The next day, she awakened from sleep to discover that the pilot had quietly passed away. Soon after, howling sounds from a wolf pack echoed in the distance. Clearly, this dense forest was not a domain where humans held dominance. She hurriedly rushed out of the aircraft and witnessed white mountains and jungle for the first time. Obviously, this was a desolate area, untouched by human presence. Now she could only rely on her own strength for survival. She began collecting usable supplies from within the aircraft. She packed medical supplies into her personal backpack. Subsequently, she found a weapon beside the pilot. After organizing all items, she prepared to head south along the path. She had only taken a few steps when she heard sounds from the communication equipment inside the aircraft. She rushed toward the aircraft at maximum speed, only to discover that the sound came from the pilot's personal communication device. Due to the intermittent and highly unstable received signal, she modified the electrical system to use the aircraft's power source for the communication equipment. She then continuously adjusted the communication frequency bands and provided detailed descriptions of her current predicament, hoping to receive rescue assistance from others. However, after switching through each communication band, no one responded to her distress calls.